Hi guys, I'm your host Griffin, and today we are covering Girls of Reddit. What is the most obvious sign you gave to a guy and he didn't get it? Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the video. I would cuddle up to him, sit on his lap, straight up flirt with him. I had to tell him I liked him. He still seemed confused. We're expecting our first child, so I think it turned out well in the end. Sat on his lap. He got up and found me a chair. Thanks, Andrew. Once I invited someone to take a bath with me and like 3 weeks later they were like, wait, were you flirting with me? LOL. With my boyfriend, on our first date he didn't give me a kiss and left and I just said, what? No kiss? And he just awkwardly laughed and walked away. I thought I blew it or something. Second date he asked me to his apartment. I asked if I could take my pants off since they were uncomfortable and we laid on the bed watching a movie. I had my leg over his body and left leaning in close for a kiss, and he didn't kiss me. He finally kissed me when I was about to leave and was in the middle of talking when he did it. Mayo. I'm a guy, but many moons ago as I was leaving her apartment late one night. Girl, you don't want to spend the night? Me? Why? I live like 2 blocks from here. I went home. She was pissed. Now married almost 8 years. Not so much that he didn't get it, as that he was just very innocent and adorable. Back in middle school we were hanging out and I said, if you were to kiss me right now, I wouldn't stop you. To which he opened his eyes wide and said, what, really? I nodded and he kissed me on the cheek and blushed. Nothing came of it, but years later he mentioned that he realized what I meant a few days after our hangout and was so embarrassed. He assumed he had missed his chance. Told the guy I liked, now my boyfriend, that I was single and was looking for a boyfriend, and he just went to have fun. That's always difficult. Then later in the conversation I ended up calling him hot and boyfriend material. Yeah, bad joke I know. And he was like, huh, thanks. 3 hours afterwards he texted me and was like, wait, were you flirting with me? Now we're dating and I like to tease him about his constant obliviousness. My now fiancé told me he liked me, and I told him I wanted to get to know him. We went on a date and at the end of the night we kissed and arranged a second date. I told him later that night that I liked him back. After a few days he messaged me, but do you mean like as a friend or do we like each other the same way? I'm sorry, but you have to spell it out for me. I don't want to get the wrong impression. Girl in high school. I like guys in tight shirts and blue jeans. Me? Wearing a tight shirt and blue jeans. Damn, lucky dudes. After a class in university, a girl who I had already pointed out to a friend, I thought she was hot, came up to me and said, your name's so and so, you're in my class. How did you get so smart? I was stunned, like a deer in headlights. I replied, I watch a lot of TV. I literally told him, I think you're cute, we should date, and he didn't even blink. Fast forward 4 years and he texted me if I was serious. Back then I said yes, then he felt like an idiot, because he had a huge crush on me too. We're best friends now though. There were rumors in my store that I liked one guy and that he liked me back, but we were too stupid to admit it to each other. One day I was fed up with all of this and decided to take action. So in front of everyone I shouted at him from the opposite side of the department, he name, I like you, okay? He turned and shouted back, thank you. We dated for 3 months. Then we broke up. I'm not a girl, but the idiot guy? I had just met the best friend of my best mate's girlfriend. She got more physical throughout the night to a point where she was constantly touching me, and while we were at a strip club, her idea, she suggested we leave as my best mate and his girlfriend had disappeared. We were both a bit drunk at this point and decided to get a cab home. When the cab pulled up at her place she asked if I wanted to stay the night and she would drive me home in the morning. Me being the polar opposite of Stephen Hawking said, nah, it's fine. My place is only a few minutes away. Once I got back to my place the driver asked if I was gay and everything hit me at once. Ended up back at her place a few weeks later after my mate explained just how dumb I am. I'm a guy. I'll give you one from middle school. 7th grade me, talking to a bunch of kids on the last day of school, including a cute 8th grade girl who I had gym with. As I leave, she yells, hey, Jongan 832, I don't have your number. To which I reply, yay. I don't have yours either. Bye. I'm going to lie and say I instantly regretted it. I'm not a girl, but many years ago a girl once told me she was a diagnosed nymphomaniac, that she absolutely needed to have sex when she was horny and that she was horny right then. as we hung out alone together in my band's practice space, which had a great big couch in it. I asked her questions about the psychology and then offered her a ride home. I figured it out days later when another girl told me how freaking oblivious I was. Well, this happened to me as a guy. She was on my bed and looked at me dead in the eye and said, "People tell me I give great blowjobs." And I looked at her straight-faced and said, "Nice. Good for you." She had the most disappointed face I've ever seen a woman have. Guy here. She slept in my twin bed with me, twice. The second night, she spent an hour leading up to bed talking about sex. I slept fully clothed right next to her, both times. Guy here. Sophomore year of college. Me and this girl had an economics class where every week we had to take those little 10-question quizzes. One day we're walking out together and she goes, "I found all the answers to the quizzes on Quizlet. I'd send them to you, but I don't have your number." And I said, "Oh, they're on Quizlet, huh?" And walked off towards my next class. Girl I worked with when I was 18 or 19, ran her finger up and down the button-up shirt seam where the buttons are. Said, "I always wanted to ride in a Mustang. I owned a classic one, 1965. And I was like, oh cool, yeah, that'd be fun. I can give you a lift home after work if you want." And then I did and she was all, "You want to come up and watch a movie?" And that's when I hit deep clueless nerd and said I would. But I'm meeting some friends to play and yeah, peak nerd. I had the opposite once. I went on a date with a pretty young lady who, after dessert, leaned forward and asked me in a quiet tone if I would like to go back to her place and play her mandolin. Then she meant it. I got a free 30-minute mandolin lesson. I had a female acquaintance I got high and watched movies with. She came over in a sheer tank top and no bra. I took no hints, and kept my eyes on her face, because my mommy taught me not to stare. I think she got fed up, because I did not see her again after that. I'm a guy, but remember one girl tried to kiss me twice way back when I was younger. For some reason, I just couldn't figure out what she meant by that. I met my partner of 9 years when we were at a mutual friend's 20th birthday. I was into him, but he was completely clueless. I could tell he was attracted to me, but he was so awkward and adorably innocent. I would dance with just him, grab his hand to keep up with the group through the busy nightclub, place his hand on my waist or hips. Hours had passed and he wasn't getting it. Eventually I fully sat on his lap. Despite empty seats either side of him, he froze, not sure what to do. The friend whose party it was caught his attention before demonstrating how to handle a woman in your lap. The birthday boy pulled his girlfriend to his lap, encircling her waist in his hands and whispering in her ear with pointed looks at my guy. Awkwardly my partner tried to do the same, but he was so uncertain. Later we all went for drunken late-night macos before everyone split up for the night. He tried to drag me into a shadow to kiss me goodnight, but couldn't get his confidence up before his rowdy friends came and dragged us all apart. He was so adorably frustrated. A couple of days later I added him on Facebook, because I wanted to know more about him. We started chatting all night every night and eventually got our shit together. It turned out he had never been kissed. So the next time we saw each other in person I made sure to rectify that. 9 years later we are no longer close with the mutual friends that got us together, but he's all I could ever need. Literally the best decision I ever made. I met a cute guy in college and we started texting a lot. Our school used to host 19+ themed club nights on campus every Thursday night. And one of those nights, the guy texted me and asked if I was planning on going. I hadn't planned on it, but was hoping the guy would invite me to go with him. So I said something like, "No, I always want to go, but none of my friends are 19 yet, so I have no one to go with." Sad face. He said, "Oh, that's too bad. Have a good night." Eventually, he caught onto my flirting and we've been dating for 3.5 years now. He still insists that there was nothing wrong with his response. Early on with my husband, at the time just random internet person I had become friends with, he was talking about his motorcycle. Very obviously coming on to him I go, "Yeah? So when are you going to take me for a ride on that thing?" I was being like, over the top lascivious about it too. And in complete seriousness he replied that he doesn't take on passengers, because he can't handle the added responsibility and he actually removed his passenger pegs. I like to tease him about it to this day, though I've added in an emo hair flip to go with the line about the passenger pegs. I love him, but man he can be dense. The first time we hooked up we were making out on his couch. A bit later, He gets up to go to bed and sets me up to sleep on the couch, which is fine. He wasn't being pushy or presumptuous. I admired that, but I also wanted to get laid, so I go. Or maybe I could sleep with you. I swear I smelled the gears in his head burning as they ground to a halt and changed direction. Not a girl, but I had a girl literally put her hand in my pants from the front, and I apologized for having my crotch there. This was years ago. Still great friends with her. We laughed about it like 2 weeks ago. Lmayo. Shared a bed cause hers was too messy. I was so insecure that I didn't want to be a creep and make moves on her. We got married, eventually. A girl who had just broken up with her boyfriend, who was also a friend, told me the following within 2 days of each other, and my dense mind didn't notice. The first thing she said was, "Oh, my friends think I should have dated you, not him," and I replied, "That's hilarious." 2 days later she goes, "My mum thinks we would have made a better pair than my ex and I." My amazing brain decides to say, "Oh, that's so nice of her, and also, by the way, can you set me up with your friend X?" Feel like an idiot now. I said, "You look hot. Are you single?" He just said thanks. I am single, then walked away. Guy here. For my 21st I went out drinking till 5 AM with friends. I left a diner at 6 AM with a friend. We decided to walk back to his place to crash and met a woman along the way. She was walking alone and for some reason felt cool with walking with 2 guys. Turns out she lived 2 blocks away from my buddy. Got her to her door and she asked for my number and said we should hang out. I drunkenly decided I wanted to watch the sunrise. As soon as I got to my buddy's place she called and said her roommate was loud and she couldn't sleep. Asked me to come over and spend some time with her. I told her I was going to watch the sun come up and invited her out. She declined. I called her a week later. She told me I missed out on having a good night. I grabbed his arm as we walked out during the fire drill, pretending to be scared, and told him I loved holding him and it made me so much more comfortable. He said he was glad and we never talked after. I was stranded in a hotel because my flight was cancelled for weather. I booty called the guy I figured was most likely to show up and conveniently lived nearby. First, and only, booty call of my life, so maybe I did it wrong, but he was not catching on. He showed up. I had a bucket of beers waiting, and we laughed and talked on the balcony for a while. I finally got my courage up and went inside, pushed the desk chair aside and sat on the desk. He followed and sat in a chair across the room. I asked him to close the drapes. He walked past me and closed the drapes and went back to the chair. I suggested he take his shoes off. He did, in the chair. I suggested he move closer. He brought the chair. Maybe a bit closer than that. Total confusion on his face. "Oh my god, will you please come here?" He finally got it. But damn, it seemed like a lot of work for a guy with a reputation for being a ladies' man. I kind of figured come to my hotel room would have been sufficient. Married to him for 12 years now. Asked him to adjust my bra strap. He did very shakily and then patted it down like all done. I am a guy, but I did have something like this happen to me. I was on a long bus trip with my school and the whole time down to Florida a girl from the front of the bus kept looking back at me. When we got to this vacation place we were going to, her friend found me the next day and told me that this girl wanted me to put suntan lotion on her back. So I was like okay and went over there and kind of glopped some on and rubbed it in a little bit and said, "Is that okay?" And she said yeah and I said okay and walked away. Was at a friend's house and his sister came out wearing just a towel from the bathroom. She said to me, "Stop undressing me with your eyes." I replied, "You are only wearing the towel." She did a cheeky wink and walked into her room. I thought to myself, stupid girl thinks she is wearing clothes, and went about my day. Ladies, the lesson to be learned here is if you want to date a man, literally say to him, "I like you, I want to date you, let's go on a date now, because frick we can be dense." Please subscribe if you like the video, it really helps the channel to grow. Adios.